Do you have those voices in your head that tell you that you're too fat or you're too ugly or you're just not good enough? I do. And in my next video, I'm going to explain how I move past that body shaming to feel better about who I am and how I move through my life. Stick around and watch. Hey there, I'm Elysha. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about body shaming, but not the body shaming that other people do to you. I'm talking about the body shaming that we do to ourselves. You know that voice in the head? It's that toxic self-talk that says your nose is too wide, or your legs are too short, or you're too fat, you're too ugly. Basically, it's saying you're not good enough. And this is something that I think so many people deal with. When I first started dealing with body shaming, there wasn't even a word for it, let alone a hashtag. It was just me hating my hair. My hair is very thick, and very thick hair gets very big and puffy. And I've got this long, narrow face, and I've got this big puffy hair, and I felt like I was that monster. Who is that monster? Do you know who I'm talking about? I was like the monster with the hair covering the eyes. I'm gonna find that monster. Anyhow, I felt like my big puffy hair was just ridiculous and ugly and didn't go with my face. So I tried to work with it. So I cut it really short. And this was a huge mistake because after I cut my hair short, my hair was no longer big and puffy like this. It was big and puffy like this. So I started to look like a Q-tip. And then what did I do? I don't know why I did this, but I bleached my hair blonde. So now I had short, bleached blonde hair that was like that. And because I bleached it, it was fried. So now it's got this texture of dried, fried, bleached blonde Q-tip hair. And anyways, it was, I don't know why I did all that. I was like trying to fight what my hair was. And finally, I just came to terms with, hey, I've got big puffy hair that's thick and it's kind of wavy curly, and you know, after trial and error I figured out a length that works for me, and I don't hate my hair anymore. I've actually just started to try to make it even curlier. I actually asked my hair person if I could get a perm, and she was like, no, we don't really do that. So I'm not getting a perm. But as I start to feel better about my big puffy hair, something else pops up for me to feel bad about, because that's the thing with body shaming, especially when it's from yourself. Probably there's always going to be something about your body, yourself, that you don't like. So I finally come to terms with my big puffy hair, and then I start dealing with my weight. I used to be about 15 pounds heavier than I am now, and I thought I was really fat. And I worked really hard to not be fat. I used to do crazy dieting and fasting, juice cleanses, and exercise. I did all that stuff. And actually I did get really thin, but then I got pregnant. So that was really interesting because I was working so hard to be thin, and then I got pregnant. But being pregnant was actually how I learned to accept my body as it was. There's just something about being pregnant and knowing what your body is doing, not only for yourself, but for your babies. So it was that appreciation for what my body was able to do that enabled me to start to feel better about it and the shape that it was, the size that it was, and I could move on from feeling shame about being too heavy. But then something else came in for me to despise about my body, and this was actually after my kids were born. I breastfed both of them, and when they were young, I think they just sucked all the life out of me, because then I got really, really skinny. And people used to say to me, oh my God, you're so thin. And I think that's really interesting, because if you're heavy, people don't say that to you. No one's coming up to heavier people and like, oh my God, you're so big. But everybody was coming up to me and telling me that I looked really skinny. And you know, my ears, I was hearing, God, you look so ugly. You're so unhealthy. So I do a lot of yoga and a lot of meditation. This is a really good way to try to deal with your own body shaming. But you know, this negative self-talk, this body shaming, these are stories that we run through our brain, and it can take forever to reprogram them, like forever. So just know, if you're gonna start working on this, just get in for the long haul, because it's gonna take a lot of work and a lot of practice. So for me, like I said, I do a lot of yoga and meditation, and those practices help me become more aware of who I am. And they also allow me to start being kinder to myself, because that's what this practice is about. It's about self-compassion, so that I can stop judging myself for how I look. So anyways, so then I've got the skinny body that I'm feeling really embarrassed about. I'm, trying to cover up, always wearing long sleeves and these high shirts, because I felt really bony and ugly. So I am starting to move past this, and something else has come up that I don't like about my body, and this is my crinkles. The crinkles started about 4 years ago when my daughter, she had her friend over, and they were playing dolls, and they used to sort of incorporate me into the game a little bit, and they called me grandma, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cute. They're the moms, I'm the grandma. But then I found out that the other mom of the little girl that was over, who is my age, she was the aunt. So I'm like, why am I the grandma? So I asked them, and kids are just so straightforward. They're so blunt, and they're like, oh, because of your crinkles. These are my crinkles. My hands are very crinkly, and I have to look at them all the time, because I do yoga, so your hands are always flat on the floor, and I'm looking at these hands, I'm like, ooh. So this is the practice that I'm working on now. This is what I am trying to move past, or move towards, the self-acceptance, and the practice is self-compassion. So when I see my hands and I'm like, ooh, look at those, and then I look at the person next to me who's in downward dog and her hands are all smooth, I gotta stop comparing my hands to her hands, first of all. And also, you know what? My mom had really crinkly hands. Her mom had really crinkly hands. I come from a lineage of really crinkly hands, and that's just who I am. And I'm gonna learn how to be okay with that. It's not gonna happen right now or overnight. Like I said, this was 4 years ago, and I still look at my hands, I'm like, oh my God. But I'm practicing. It's a practice of self-compassion. So it's these practices that we start to bring into our lives on a consistent basis. And this is how we work to overcome and to accept who we are. So it's this practice of self-compassion, self-kindness. This is how you beat your body shaming, and this is how you get into your most amazing shape ever. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll be posting next week.